Got anything on you?
Stay with him. I'm at my house.
Okay. I don't know. I'm asking you. What's your name?
Gervonta.
Javon. What?
Gervonta.
Gervonta is your first name?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your last name?
They're saying he can get anywhere up to 7 years if convicted of all charges, right? When you break down the situation, when you're a celebrity or an athlete,
what began as a quiet federal operation has escalated into a full-blown investigation that now threatens to tarnish Tank's legacy. Authorities discovered large amounts of unregistered cash inside his Florida mansion, following reports that he had been purchasing jewelry with cash suspected of being untraceable or undeclared income. These findings have raised suspicions of money laundering and prompted federal agents to re-examine Davis's long-standing history of legal and financial irregularities.
Gervonta Davis, world champion. Man, not again, dog. He's a big dog, man. Hey, you Baltimore's finest, man. Yeah, across the Delaware Bridge, right? Yeah, that's him. That's you. Yeah, man.
But this time it's more than just Tank under the microscope. The shadow of Floyd Mayweather Jr., Davis's former mentor, promoter, and longtime influence, looms heavily over the situation. The revelations come shortly after Mayweather was named in a multi-million-dollar real estate scam involving a fraudulent company accused of defrauding investors. The timing has led fans and analysts to question whether Davis may have been influenced, or even groomed, into similar activities under Mayweather's
Tank
watch.
Davis had a history of assault charges and more. On September 19, 2017, an arrest warrant was issued for Davis, who was being accused of first-degree aggravated assault. The charge was later changed to a misdemeanor second-degree assault, which carries a maximum potential sentence of 10 years or a fine of $2,500, or both. At the court, Anthony Wheeler, a childhood friend, complained that Davis punched him on the side of the head with a gloved fist. He then stated that he was diagnosed with a concussion at the hospital. The incident took place
For years, Tank Davis has followed in Floyd Mayweather's footsteps, both inside and outside the ring. The flash, the money, the cars, and the controversies. But as federal agents scrutinize Tank's finances, some argue that the parallels between the two are no longer just about style, but substance. Like Floyd, Tank has a record marked by domestic violence, public altercations, and now potentially financial misconduct.
2021, he was indicted on 14 counts for allegedly causing a serious car crash after running a red light after a November 2020 birthday party in downtown Baltimore. His Lamborghini struck another car and left it smoking, sending the occupants to the hospital, including a pregnant woman. He allegedly left the scene in a Camaro that pulled up minutes later. On February 16th, Davis accepted a plea deal that saw him plead guilty to leaving the scene of an accident involving bodily injury, failing to notify an owner of property damage, driving on a suspended
The discovery of the undeclared cash reportedly emerged during follow-up proceedings related to the 2023 burglary of Davis's Parkland mansion. The incident occurred while Davis was serving jail time for a 2020 hit-and-run, during which millions of dollars worth of luxury goods were stolen, including exotic cars like a Lamborghini Urus and a Ferrari SF90. At the time, the sheer display of wealth raised eyebrows, but now federal investigators are beginning to view it through a different lens. Was all that money legitimate?
Now, beyond that, case, he's so still hanging. And there's a run accident case that was still hanging over his head from a couple of years ago. And so finally went for the judge for sentencing. He ended up getting 90 days of home detention along with 3 years of probation. So as of right now, it's reported that he's spending those 90 days with trainer Calvin Ford and looking forward to moving past
The cash now under investigation was allegedly not reported in Davis's tax filings or reflected in his banking records. According to sources familiar with the case, the money wasn't stored in any secure financial institution. It was stashed inside his home. This method of keeping large sums off the books is a classic red flag in financial crime investigations, and the involvement of multiple federal agencies indicates that the matter is being taken seriously at the highest levels. The incident has also resurfaced the messy split between Davis and Mayweather Promotions. For years, Davis has hinted at tensions with Floyd, publicly expressing frustration over how his career was being managed. YouTuber Showbiz. The adult recently weighed in, suggesting that Davis's dissatisfaction isn't rooted in money, but in a lack of legacy. Hailed as the face of boxing, Davis has yet to face a defining lineup of elite opponents, a strategy many attribute to Mayweather's influence. Gervonta didn't know that you can be the face of boxing without satisfying your legacy, Showbiz the Adult said in a recent video. He looked up and was like, "I'm still hungry." That hunger, for meaning, for recognition, for something deeper than pay-per-view numbers, may be at the root of Davis's increasingly erratic behavior. Recently, the WBA lightweight champion announced his retirement, stating that he simply wanted to make money and stay out the way.
It just felt like I wasn't supposed to be in there.
Hey, that's his job right here. I ain't gonna lie, hey, your beard is fun. Yo.
It was a learning experience. You know, it showed me that that's not where I want to be. And I got kids, I got kids. Yeah, I got family, friends, and everything I got to take care of.
In his own words, Davis said, "I want to be living without being seen." Some interpreted it as a fighter finally at peace, while others now see it as a man stepping away before more is exposed. Ironically, Davis is still scheduled for a rematch against Lamont Roach in August 2025 in Brooklyn, a bout he's framing as one of his last. Whether that fight goes on as planned now depends, in part, on how the federal investigation unfolds. If charges are filed or his assets frozen, Davis's in-ring future could be cut short well before 2025. As for Floyd, his own legal entanglements continue to deepen. Floyd was recently named in a lawsuit alleging that his name and brand were used to mislead investors in a large-scale real estate scam, in which he claimed to own properties that weren't even registered in his name. While he has denied any involvement and insisted he played no role in the scheme's operations, the allegations have further tarnished his public image. Now, fans are starting to connect the dots. Davis idolized Floyd. He mimicked his behavior and built a career on Mayweather's name. But he may have also inherited the darker parts of Floyd's playbook. From domestic violence accusations to hoarding cash in vaults, the similarities between the two are becoming increasingly difficult to ignore.
Talking about what Gervonta Tank Davis said, talking about him pricing himself out, saying that he won 150 M's for his rematch with Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia, y'all want to know what I think about that whole video? It looks like Gervonta is on the poster. Listen, man, where everything is happening, dude, all these fights are being made over there. It just looks like Gervonta is on the outskirts looking for the perfect fight. But at the same time, talking about how big of a brand
At the core of it all, Davis is 30 years old, physically in his prime, but mentally and emotionally, he seems checked out. He's grown tired of the sport, bitter about his legacy, and now possibly entangled in financial dealings that extend far beyond the boxing ring. Federal agents are watching closely, and so is the boxing world. If the current investigation results in charges, it could mark a dramatic fall from grace for a man once seen as the heir to Mayweather's throne. But it would also serve as a cautionary tale about what happens when money and fame are prioritized over principle and personal growth. "Money isn't the bill," Showbiz said. "You won't be happy." As Davis's future hangs in the balance, one question remains. Is this the end of Tank's fight career, or the beginning of his biggest battle yet?
For me, go get the money. It's right there. The bag is right there. Go get it. I would go get the money because these fights are going to always be there. These boxers are always going to be there to fight because none of them are making the type of money that you're making. Not saying they're not making the money, but they aren't making Canelo.
However, it seems that the talk surrounding Tank Davis is starting to sound more like alarm bells. While the boxing world was busy analyzing his surprising draw against Lamont Roach, a fight many expected him to win easily, there was a far, More complex situation unfolding behind closed doors, all of which circles back to money. Not just the kind made in the ring, but the kind that rarely sees the light of day. The kind that keeps attorneys on standby and federal agents on alert. Now, the narrative has taken a darker turn. Tank's push for bizarre, high-profile fights, like one against Jake Paul, wasn't just about expanding his brand. It may have been a desperate scramble to convert shady cash into clean money before the hammer finally
He
drops.
fighting for the money. You ain't saying Mayweather the promotion trying to make the most money off of Tank possible. You saying he fighting for the money.
If he said he went in there 0 times and requested the big fights, obviously he don't really care about the big fights. He just want to get the money, in which he's doing a good job at.
I mean, maybe you just let his team, come up with who they think should be next for him, and maybe that's why he hasn't gone in there. Because anytime we see him, hear him after a fight, well, got to sit down with Calvin.
According to several sources close to the boxing business, Davis has been under quiet federal scrutiny for months. While no formal charges have been filed, investigations are reportedly focused on money laundering, undisclosed income, and possible connections to criminal enterprises. These aren't new rumors in the fight game. Boxing has always operated in close proximity to street politics and underground economies, particularly for fighters who came up hard and fast from impoverished backgrounds. But with Davis, it's gone beyond mere whispers. Insiders suggest that Davis's camp has been warned that a freeze on his assets, including his bank accounts, properties, and business interests, could be imminent, depending on the outcome of the ongoing investigation.
Gervonta's going to fight Jake Paul in November, and then we'll see what happens if there's an AJ fight. Be interested to go from Gervonta Davis to Anthony Joshua, but I don't think the Chavez fight is terrible. I think it's
This isn't
smart.
merely speculation. Some observers have pointed to an unusual pattern of behavior from the Baltimore native in recent months. There's the sudden urgency to book fights outside of his weight class, the shift toward considering spectacle, matchups over title-defining bouts, and a growing tendency to appear in environments far removed from elite boxing circles. And this is where Jake Paul comes into play. On paper, a 195-pound exhibition bout between a legitimate power-punching lightweight and a YouTube entertainer turned cruiserweight boxer makes little sense. Tank has spent his career dominating at 130 to 140 pounds, while Jake Paul competes at around 200 pounds. The weight difference alone should have killed the deal from the start.